John Wick hit a black car into a wall. He then falls out of the vehicle, bloody and all wounded. He puts his hand on a wound in his abdomen. Then he takes out his mobile phone and pals a video of his wife Helen in which she's on the shore. John then closed his eyes. Several days ago scene. John wakes up on a cloudy day. He has flash memory of him together with Helen, up until recently when she fainted in his arms. She had a disease and eventually she died. Now it is funeral day. After the service, John's old friend Marcus comes near him to give his condolences. That night, a delivery arrives for John. It is a box. John finds a note from his wife with the box. She wrote in the letter that she is in peace and wants John to find peace too. John cries. In the box there was a dog. He takes the dog out and looks at its collar. Daisy was the name written on collar. Daisy follows John everywhere on his day as he takes his car Mustang out. John then stops his car on gas station to fill the gas. A car with 3 Russian mobsters, including Yosef Tarzov. Luz is the son of mob boss Vigo Tarzov. Yosef comes near John's car and drives compliment to John's car, and then he asks John about the price of car. John says it's not for sale. Yosef then insults John in Russian saying that every bitch has a price. Believing John won't understand. But John understood the sentence and replied, "But not this bitch." Yosef then put his hand on Daisy, but John scares him away. One of Yosef's friends brings his head into the car and wishes John a good day. Later that night as John is going into bed, Daisy needs to do pissing. When they go downstairs, there are 2 men in his house standing before John, while a third is John with a bat on his head. He starts beating John on the body while Daisy whines. One of the men goes near to the dog and breaks her neck and kills Daisy. The man pulls off his mask. He was Yosef. John later gets up and goes over to his dead dog. Yosef takes John's car to a shop. The shop owner name was Aurelio. Aurelio immediately recognizes the car and asks Luz that where did he get that car from. Yosef tells about who he stole the car from and also tells him that he killed this person's dog. Aurelio hits Yosef in the face. Yosef gets angry, saying he will pay for that and goes out of the shop. Later, John comes by the shop and asks Aurelio if Yosef came by to his shop. And Aurelio gives John Luz's name and makes sure that's who took his car and killed Daisy. Later that night, Vigo calls Aurelio to ask why he hit Yosef. Aurelio replies, because he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. Vigo just replies, oh. Same time, John takes a hammer into the basement and begins digging the floor open. He dig out a box of weapons and gold coins. Later, Vigo meets with Yosef to discuss the situation. Vigo hits his son twice, reminding him who he just messed with. Vigo tells Yosef that John Wick worked with him once, until he met Helen and decided to leave. John was known as the Boogeyman, or rather, the guy they called to take down Boogeyman. Vigo calls John and tries to resolve the matter and negotiate, but John hangs up on him. Vigo sends a team of 12 men to John's house same night to kill John. John easily kills all of them, stabbing the last guy in the chest. A policeman knocks on the door. John greets him, asks if there's any noise complaint, and the policeman says, yes. He asks John, are you back in the business, pointing to the body visible behind John. John says, just cleaning some old garbage. The cop wishes him best of luck and leaves. John summons a cleanup crew that he has done business with in the past to clean up the murder scene and hide the bodies. Vigo meets with John Wick's friend Marcus and offers him to kill Wick, offering a deal worth $2 million. He also orders his assistant Avi to call for others to kill John. Marcus accepts. Later, John arrives at the Continental Hotel in Lower Manhattan. John always stays at that hotel while he conducts business. John meets his another old friend, Winston, the manager and also the owner of the Continental Hotel. John asks Winston about Luz and he tells him that Yosef is at a club called Red Circle. Then John goes into the club where Yosef and his buddies are. J0hn first kills one of Yosef's friends and advances in the club's lower level where Yosef is. Luz is enjoying a night of champagne and women in a hot Russian bath pool. As soon as they spot J0hn, he begins shooting at them while Yosef starts running away. J0hn kills every member in his path, but Yosef flees in a car. Then J0hn returns to the Continental to have a wound in his side. Stitched up, one of Luz's guards stabbed J0hn with a bottle in the club. The doctor tells J0hn not to take care of the stitches and not to move so much, otherwise stitches will tear. Later at night, Marcus goes to the roof of the building across the street and sets his gaze on J0hn laying in his bed. From the mirror, he sees someone entering J0hn's room. He fires a shot to wake J0hn. It's Perkins. She starts shooting at J0hn. She tells him that Vigo has increased the contract to $4 million if Perkins breaks the rules of the hotel and kills him in the Continental. J0hn fights her with difficulty until he headlock and offers her mercy for information. She tells J0hn that Vigo keeps most of his assets like money in the basement of a church. J0hn knocks Perkins out and leaves. J0hn goes to the church where Vigo keeps his secret money and important business files. After shooting the other guards present there in the church, J0hn forces the priest to guide him to where the vault is. J0hn then set fire to all the money and files of Vigo. Vigo learns of the fire moments that happen in church before he is caught in a hail of gunfire courtesy of J0hn. Although J0hn Wick kills most of Vigo's men, but he is knocked out when a car rams into another, knocking J0hn to the ground. Vigo captures J0hn and confused why he's gone to such great lengths for revenge over a car in the dew. J0hn enlightened Vigo that the dog was a gift from his dying wife, and Yosef took that from him. He also tells Vigo that he can either turn Yosef to him or die with Luz. Vigo leaves J0hn with his men for them to kill him with a plastic bag via suffocation. However, Marcus is watching all the incident from the next building, and he shoots one man in the head to let J0hn take out the other. J0hn grabs man's gun and shoots at Vigo's getaway car. Now Vigo had no choice to tell J0hn that Yosef is hiding in Brooklyn. The safe house is guarded by armed men to protect Luz, but none of that stops J0hn from killing them and destroying the place. Yosef once again tries to run from J0hn, but J0hn catches him and kills Luz. To avenge the death of his son Vigo sends his men to kill Marcus at his home. There, they beat him until Vigo and Perkins shoot Marcus to death. Vigo calls J0hn, while waiting for J0hn to come to Marcus's home. Meanwhile, Perkins is called for a meeting with Winston. Winston tells her she's broken the rules of the Continental has been terminated. The same cleaner that helped J0hn remove the killer's bodies from his home. J0hn finds Marcus's body and goes to kill Vigo. J0hn finds that the Vigo heading to the chopper and tries ramming into them with his car. Vigo tells Avi go out and kill J0hn, only for J0hn to ram into him with his car. Vigo pushed J0hn's car over the bridge, but J0hn gets out from car safely. The two then fight with hand in the rain. Vigo tries to stab J0hn with knife, but J0hn forces the blade into Vigo, and sticking it in Vigo's neck. He leaves him to die. We go back to the first starting scene where J0hn is still bleeding out of the car. After watching the video with Helen, he is inspired to keep on living. He goes into a dog shelter to find a dog and tends to his stab wound to stop bleeding. He then shows us a pit bull with him, and they go home together after all.
Subscribe now for more movie contents.